as an academic working on rather esoteric aspects of Anglo-Saxon literature and culture, Tolkien was surprised by the immense popularity of The Hobbit, and then even more so later with The Lord of the Rings. He didn't set out to be popular. He wrote what he liked to read, and he had strong opinions, which were not necessarily popular opinions about what a good story would be and what the elements of that story would be. And he wrote it the way he would like to read it. He was dissatisfied with some of the other tales he would read or something, and there was a lack, and so he was trying to fill it. And he worked very hard as a writer. He's a very slow process. He has high expectations of what it should be, and it takes a long time to get to what he wants it to do. But in the end, he wrote what he wanted to read. Even though The Hobbit is told in a simple, straightforward tone and has a lot of the other markers of children's literature, there's always something more just around the corner or something on the borders of this. And Tolkien had already written his mythology and the epic stories of the Silmarillion and everything before, and it wasn't published until far later. So The Lord of the Rings isn't written until the next decade, and that's a very slow process. But even with this simple children's story that he started out telling to his own children, all of the other elements of his mythology is still coming in. So we can, since Tolkien and since The Lord of the Rings especially, other authors have been interested in taking up his legacy, and new directions of fantasy have unfurled, but I think it's always important to go back to what he first thought of fantasy, and a lot of his thinking about it and explaining it to others was in the same decade that he wrote The Hobbit. So we could make connections between, like, Bilbo trying to get the dwarves to escape in the barrels and Odysseus trying to escape Circe's cave or something. But I think there's so many different connections we could make, but The Hobbit is a good story that draws on so many other elements of story. In Tolkien's essay of fairy stories, he talks about the elements of a story as like a soup. And so there's so many different ingredients in the soup that are common not just to epic, but to other literature as well.